Opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. We have a very special Mock Draft Monday format for you guys today. It's a combination of a lot of things, Connor. It's NFL hype. It's fantasy football hype. We're getting a little bit of rookie draft hype in here at the end. But what we're doing, me and you going back and forth, snake draft style, trying to pick the next wide receiver champion. Who is going to finish with the most receiving yards in the NFL this season? We got Cooper Kupp, who is the reigning champion, who could be a very high selection in this draft here, but plenty of other really great names to choose from. It's a great way to highlight a fun position. I'll say that. A very well-known position that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on. So, Connor, I'm excited to get it going with you here.
I am too. This is really good timing as a lot of people are preparing for their fantasy drafts. A lot of people want to hear about not just the rookies, which we do a lot of on this show, but the young ascending talent in the league. And I think wide receiver is kind of reigns supreme, being that position where there are guys under 25 that sit amongst the top 10 in the league. And I think you and I just like going head-to-head on any kind of football challenge we can come up with. So this one's a layup, but it'll be pretty fun.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun. You know what else I'm going to really enjoy about this episode in particular? Everybody has takes on wide receiver. Everybody has takes on wide receiver. Whether it's their favorite wide receiver on their team or just this guy's better than this guy, nothing gets the people going, if you will, to quote Blades of Glory, like a good old wide receiver ranking. So I think that this is going to be...
It's hard to be wrong. Like, there's so many good wide receivers. Did you see that they asked Cooper Kupp to rank his top 5 wide receivers and he didn't put himself?
Oh, wow. The humility. I
mean, it's Cooper Kupp, like, really humble dude.
The confidence.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny because 9 out of 10 wide receivers always put themselves number top.
That's
3.
the wide receiver way, man. You gotta,
it's just great for you.
Put yourself at number 1, right?
Yeah. So, man, it's a funny position. Obviously, we've been pretty spoiled the last couple drafts with this position, and some of the names you're going to hear today, obviously, are from these recent classes as well.
Okay, before we get it going here, I want to have a little bit of fun. Can you pull up the past wide receiver champions over the last, whatever. Like, I've got Pro Football Reference up and it shows who's won this title over the last couple of years. I just want to go through like this list of names and see if anybody like super stands out to you. Like, you remember a certain season.
I got it up.
Dude, 2010. I totally forgot about this. Brandon Lloyd, age 29, won the wide receiver title that year in 2010. That's crazy. I totally forgot.
Well, and it's incredible when you look at the Brandon Lloyd sandwich of this. The 2 years before he won it, Andre Johnson won it. The 2 years after he won it, Calvin Johnson won it. So in between an elite Andre Johnson and Calvin Johnson, Brandon Lloyd won this award.
Wait a second. Bro, do you know who is quarterback of the Denver Broncos in 2010? Take a guess.
Oh, man. Is it Jake the Snake, or is that no?
It was not Jake the Snake. But
that's too late.
You knew it had to be before Peyton, right?
Peyton wasn't which means it's somebody kind of random.
Kyle Orton, brother.
Kyle Orton. God.
Kyle Orton and Tim Tebow were the 2 quarterbacks of this team.
That's right. Tebow came in at that point.
This is unbelievable, okay? Brandon Lloyd had over 1,400 yards. He had 1,448 receiving yards on 77 catches. That's it. Dude, our average almost 20 yards a catch. Insane.
What is the deal?
This is Kyle Orton and Tim Tebow's stats that year. Tim Tebow, he only started in 3 games. He had 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and threw for 654 yards. So that wasn't a lot. So you go, okay, like Kyle Orton had to do most of the heavy lifting. He did, but Kyle Orton only threw for 3,653 yards, 20 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. So it's like they're only force feeding Brandon Lloyd. Yeah. This actually might be the most impressive out of everybody. I'm you know what? Brandon Lloyd's wide receiver title more impressive than Calvin Johnson's. No, I'm just kidding. Calvin almost had 2,000 receiving yards in 2012. Josh Gordon, 2013. Least we forget.
Yeah.
Unreal Josh Gordon era.
Dude, the Brandon Lloyd season falls into those weird football things of like where did this come from? Because the year before that, he only had 117 yards, and he never topped, his biggest season was 733. And he never had a 1,000-yard year besides that, I don't think. So it's one of those, like, the Gary Barnidge thing. Like, Gary Barnidge had a 1,000-yard season in 2015. Before that, he never topped 250 yards. And after that, he only played one more year where he had 612 yards. So, like, the NFL is so funky like that. It's kind of like baseball starting pitchers. Sometimes you have guys just, like, have this insane year, win the Cy Young, and they don't really ever do anything ever again. That can be, at times, the wide receiver or tight end position.
I'm scrolling all the way down here because I was like, I wonder when the last time somebody won the wide receiver award with less than 1,000 yards was. 1977, Drew Pearson, Dallas Cowboys, 870 yards, won the wide receiver title.
And I think isn't that the only person to, 1959 before him. So it's like really, obviously, insanely
There's a massive
rare.
gap. Yeah, but then we get into like super old early era of football where the very first person to win the wide receiver title, 1932, Ray Flaherty, 350 receiving yards. I mean, Jamar Chase basically had that in one game.
Half a month.
Year.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
And this guy's winning the wide receiver title. I do think it's very interesting that from 1938 to 1944, someone named Don won that award every single year. Don Hudson.
Yeah. Don Looney.
Don Looney was right in the middle of it. So we still keep the Don train going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in a row, somebody named Don won the wide receiver title.
And now that name, like, you never see that name ever. And don't forget, Don Maynard won it in 67 from Namath.
Want your kid to be a star wide receiver?
Don.
Name him Don.
Donnie,
straight out the womb. It's just destined for greatness.
It is a funny award because obviously it's superstars for the most part, but you got the Brandon Lloyd, you got the Josh Gordon season. It's traditionally
what a magical year, that Josh Gordon season.
Oh, it was insane. It's generally won by somebody in that like age 26 to 28 range. Cooper Kupp was just 28 when he did it. Diggs 26 the year before. Michael Thomas 26 the year before that. But we have some guys this year that I take a stab at that. Take a little run at that.
Yep, we do. Like I said, there are three guys in this list. The last three winners are the wide receiver champions. You had Michael Thomas in 2019. You had Stefon Diggs the year after that, and then you had Cooper Kupp last year. I mean, all three of those guys could still be selections in this draft. And with that being said, let's get it kicked off. Do you want to pick first? Do you want to pick second? I'll give you the dealer's choice here, whether you want to be first. Snake draft, remember, always snake draft. So if you pick second, you also pick third. Who are you going with here? What do you want to do?
Oh man.
A lot of pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. I'll pick first.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I was about to be mad, but I don't know who you're gonna pick here.
I'm gonna pick Justin Jefferson.
Come on, man.
Yep.
Come on.
You thought I was gonna take Chase.
You were gonna pick Cooper Kupp.
Okay, no. I think if there's anything we've learned about this award, and Kupp is unbelievable, and he's gonna be just fine this year.
God damn, dude.
I mean, we haven't had a repeat since Calvin Johnson in 2011 and 2012.
Haven't had a repeat since Don.
Or Don.
Since
I
Don
mean,
Hudson.
So, and Calvin is, one of one. So, I'm not going to, number one overall pick, I'm not going to pick a repeat guy. And Justin Jefferson was the guy I was hinting at, one of the guys I was hinting at when I said this is an award that, guys are 26 to 28. He's 23 years old, and he just turned 23 in June, which is just bananas how young this guy is. And many years, he would have won it last year. He had over 1,600 yards, but a guy named Cooper Kupp chased 2,000. So I think this is just who Justin Jefferson is. I think he's a target monster. I think he's a great player. I don't think he ever has to come off the field. He's somebody that has flexibility inside and outside. Last year, 68.4% of his snaps out wide and 31% in the slot. I like that flexibility, that you can move him around the field, that this is an offense that will move him around the field. I like the matchup with his new head coach and O'Connell there. It's kind of a recipe for perfection to have a mammoth year statistically when you look at him being the dude.
Yeah.
And Trevor, like, we know, Adam Thielen has aged over the years, but they also,
As we all do.
As we all do, they also quietly lost another big target monster of that offense in Tyler Conklin, a guy that caught 61 passes last year. So Justin Jefferson, who's already exploded his first 2 years in the NFL, that target share can go even higher. So this to me was, I don't want to call this a no-brainer because there's so many viable options to pick number one overall, but he was the one I was the most excited about.
It's going to be the Justin Jefferson show this season. It really is. And he was also the player that I would have went with first overall if you're picking who's going to finish with the most receiving yards in the NFL this season. You just look at the setup, and you mentioned it. Adam Thielen, he's getting older. They lost some other receiving weapons on that team. Justin Jefferson, he's young, but also the way in which he wins is something that really encourages me for him to continue to have that kind of success. Maybe it's not going to be more than 1,600 yards, but like you mentioned, 1,600 yards could have won that award in many years past. So even if he has that same kind of output, he's going to put himself right there in the conversation. I think the Vikings defense is going to take a little bit of a step back, so I think there's going to be more throwing. They're going to have to continue to be aggressive throughout the entirety of the game. Justin Jefferson is going to be the player who is going to reap those benefits. His route running, his separation, his confidence as a wide receiver are just, they're all so incredible at a young age already with his third year in the NFL. So I agree with you. I think that Justin Jefferson is a great pick. He's who I would have taken at number one. Number two, it's so funny because you take Justin Jefferson off the board, and my immediate thought is like, okay, who am I going to go with 1 and 2? And I go, okay, these are probably the best two options. And then I go, wait, but I'm leaving this guy on the board. And I'm going to have to say that no matter what. No matter what is the case, I'm going to have to say that. So I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. I was not going to pick Kupp number 1 because I am worried about Stafford's arm. I really am. I'm worried about it. He had
How can he not be?
He had off-season surgery, and they said that, okay, like his arm, his elbow specifically, he's got pain in his elbow. And they thought that it was going to really help him out and he was going to be in a better place as we got to this point, this close to the season starting, and he's not. He's still bothered by that elbow, it seems, and it just seems like it's going to be something that he's going to have to play with. I think Stafford himself even said he's not betting on being pain-free by the time the season starts. So that really worries me because if you take Stafford off of that team, the depth chart isn't something that is going to wow you. However, I can't not take Cooper Kupp here in the top 3 selections because of obviously what he did last year, how incredible he is at his craft, how he's going to continue to be one of those best separation artists in the NFL. And when you can be such a great route runner, no matter who's your quarterback, you have a chance to have, well, it's not a chance. The preference would be that they look your way, that you're going to be the guy who's always going to get open. So even if Stafford's not there, Los Angeles Rams still got to throw the football. Who are they going to throw it to? I know that Allen Robinson's there, but I think Allen Robinson would be the one whose production would get hurt more if Stafford is not available than Cooper Kupp. I think that what he brings to the table and how he brings it to the table will allow him to put up some monster stats there. So I got to pick Cooper Kupp, the reigning champ. I know his middle name. Well, I don't know. Maybe his middle name's Don, and we might be able to get a repeat winner here if that's the case, hit a technicality. But my third pick, my next guy going back to back, I'm going to go with Davante Adams. There's so many different wide receivers I could have gone with, but I am so excited. I'm so hyped up about Derek Carr and Davante Adams being teammates again. Last time we saw these guys as teammates, they led college football in basically every single quarterback wide receiver duo statistic when they were at Fresno State. It's been a long time since then, but both of them are still in the NFL. Derek Carr is considered a franchise quarterback. Davante Adams is considered one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's not like these guys have gone anywhere. So I think that even with some other good receiver options in that offense, you've got Hunter Renfrow, who could be a big target guy. You have Darren Waller. It's not like it was in Green Bay where I think Aaron Rodgers was going to force feed Davante Adams no matter what. But it might not play out to be that far away from that, given how much chemistry and history Derek Carr has with Davante Adams. So with that being the case, I think we're going to see a great year from Carr. We're going to see another great year from Adams. Adams has never won the wide receiver title, but he's been in that conversation. He's been pretty close in really 3 of the last 4 years outside of the year that he missed some time from being hurt. So we get a full year from Davante Adams. I got to bet on him. I got to think that they're looking his way consistently. Josh McDaniels is going to build that offense around that chemistry that those two guys have. So I'll go Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams for my first 2 picks here.
Really like the Adams pick. I think that, and maybe even I'm guilty of it at times, although I love the trade for them when it happened. He's been so good for so long on the main stage playing in Green Bay that I think we over-exaggerate his age. He's 29, and he's going to play most of the season at age 29. And the type of refinement that he plays with, and now the type of chemistry, he had great chemistry with Rodgers. He's going to have great chemistry again with Carr. That's a guy that should age really well in this league. I mean, he's somebody that at age 30, 31, 32, I don't think there'll be a notable difference with him. So I like that pick. It's admittedly a pick that I would have made here. So my first one's pretty easy. I talk about this guy on the podcast all the time. It's Ja'Marr Chase. Rookie season, 81 catches for, almost 1,500 yards, a big play machine, a built-in chemistry with his quarterback in Joe Burrow. I like T. Higgins. T. Higgins is going to always, in a good way, eat into the target share in this offense. But C.J. Uzomah out the door, and year 2 of Ja'Marr Chase, a team that I don't think has to overthrow to their running backs. I think we're going to see an uptick in volume. Coming off 128 targets, I don't see why that number doesn't increase. I don't see... And let's not forget, Trevor, he did not have a great August last year. And there was a lot of concern on the old Twitter machine, which is a little ridiculous, but a lot of concern about Ja'Marr Chase going into his rookie year because of that August, and then the dude exploded onto the scene. And I think one more notable thing is that it felt like he was getting better, understandably, as the season went on. I mean, 2 of his last 3 weeks, he went for 7 and 125, 11 and 266 against the Chiefs, 11 and 266.
I was there in person, watched it, couldn't believe
it.
Truly could not believe my eyes. Every single person in the stadium knew where the ball was going.
Doesn't matter.
There wasn't a single person who could do a damn thing about it.
So I've picked 2 outliers to start this off because I've picked guys that are 23 and 22 years old. And as I've said, this is typically a statistical category where the leader hovers more towards being in their prime at 26, 27, 28. I just think those 2 are special. I don't really think there's any other way around it. And it's pretty cool you got to see that game because when you look at Chase, watching him in person, I got to see him... Pretty sure the last year he did play in college, and it was just no one like it. I mean, the releases off the line of scrimmage, how he glides, the big body, the ability to climb over defenders, it's unbelievable.
Was that the game? Was that the game that started it for them? Their run? Hold on, I'm looking at their schedule right now.
That was towards the end of the year.
Yeah, they beat Baltimore the week before that.
Yep.
41-21. I would say that was probably the one. They beat Denver the week before that as well, but it was like 15-10. Yeah, the final score was 15-10. So I would say that the Baltimore game was probably the one that really was the catalyst. But then you beat Baltimore and Kansas City.
That's
back-to-back weeks. Rest everybody. The week after that, you make the playoffs. And then pretty nuts run after that.
They quietly blew out some good teams last year. Quietly. Like, they really, kicked the snot out of Baltimore twice.
They destroyed Baltimore twice. Pittsburgh,
and
too. 41-10.
I mean, they had some big blowouts that if they cleaned up some of the letdown weeks, like when they lost to Mike White. There's a couple of letdown weeks. They almost lost to Jacksonville early in the year. Like, if they clean up some of those letdown weeks, they're going to be a machine.
A Hall of Fame game for Mike White. You can count on one Hall of Fame game for Mike White every year. So, I mean, there's just nothing you can do about it.
Jets Eagles Friday, folks. Tune in, the Mike White Show. So, before he gets traded for a conditional 2024 7th-round pick. All right, so I got another pick here.
Okay.
I would say, and I want to know your thoughts, I think this is where it turns and becomes a little trickier. There's
a lot of options.
So right now the board, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Davante Adams, and Ja'Marr Chase have gone.
Okay.
The first 4 picks. I feel pretty comfortable that was coming. That's not a big surprise. My pick here is going to be Stefon Diggs.
Okay.
And
All right.
Now, this is a Bills offense that I'm curious to watch it even evolve under a different staff, a tweaked staff, right? There's just different people with authority. Now, Diggs is so fascinating because he's gotten to Buffalo and he's exploded. 2020 over 1,500 yards. Last year over 1,200 yards. 166 targets, 164 targets. What does that tell you, Trevor? Josh Allen throws to this guy over and over. And he should. He's always open. He's one of the best separators in the league. So there's a lot of excitement over Gabe Davis. But I think there's been departures from this offense that, yeah, you could now push some targets to Gabe Davis, but you're not pushing Stefon Diggs targets to Gabe Davis. You're taking them from other places. So I think he'll surpass 150 targets again. I think Stefon Diggs likes things that way. I think Josh Allen likes things that way. I do think this team will try to maybe establish a little bit more of a run game this year. But I don't have that fear that all these things are going to eat into Stefon Diggs. He's too good of a player. He's in his age 29 season now, or he'll turn 29 in November, so still 28. And the rapport he has with Josh Allen has taken his career to a totally different level.
Look, he's won this award before, and with great reason, because he is one of the best in the NFL, no question about it. The Bills' offense is only supposed to get better. You're right. They're losing a couple of targets for as much as I like Khalil Shakir getting in there, as much as I like them maybe giving Dawson Knox the ball a little bit more.
Jamison Crowder will get his.
Gabe Davis a little more. They added Jamison Crowder. But, like, still, those targets, not all targets are the same, right?
That's a great point.
When you're going to replace targets, a lot of times, if I'm playing that kind of mathematical game, I'm looking at targets that would have been from the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, because Stefon Diggs is going to get his, right? It's not really like a shift in, okay, let's get Dawson Knox the ball a little bit more. Let's get Gabe Davis the ball a little bit more. Let's make sure that we get Khalil Shakir or some of the running backs involved. All of that, those are targets that are almost in like one pool. You're not taking the targets from Stefon Diggs and trying to reallocate them somewhere else. At least,
nor should you.
Right. At least not a lot, because the return on investment, looking Diggs' way, giving him a chance is just going to be your best option if it's something that when all things are similar, when things are in a vacuum, you always want to go to Stefon Diggs if you have that opportunity. So not all targets are the same. So I agree with you on the math. You got to pick Stefon Diggs. He's won this award before, and with good reason. I'll end it the same way that I started that kind of rant there. So funny enough, I'm up on the clock now. I got 2 back-to-back picks. I would not have picked Jamar Chase next after Justin Jefferson, Davante Adams, and Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
There's another player that I would have picked above Jamar Chase. Now, Jamar Chase he was in the conversation. He's in this tier. But the way that I have my draft board for this episode written, I have Ceedee Lamb next. And that's a combination of the fact that Ceedee Lamb is so damn good, and I do think that he is just on the cusp of exploding, the biggest year that he has had yet in his career. But it's also because of the faith that I have in Dak Prescott. You go back to 2019, Dak Prescott was number 2 in the NFL in passing, behind only Jameis Winston. You go to that 2020 season. Yes, he gets hurt, but in those, 3-4 games that he was playing, he was on pace for an ungodly amount of passing yards before he got hurt. Last year, he was top 7 in the NFL, 4,500 passing yards again. And that's with him coming back from that foot injury. So a fully healthy year for Dak Prescott. I really believe. I think that he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I truly do. When we did our, what was it? Was it a redraft episode?
Franchise player.
The franchise player, where we took Dak Prescott very high. You actually
the Giants
very
5th?
high.
Yeah.
Yes.
And people like that caused outrage.
People freaked out about it. Everybody's got their own opinion, and obviously, like, we have our opinion. You guys have your opinion. I totally believe that Dak's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I really do. So with that being said, you lose Cedric Wilson. Michael Gallup is coming off of an ACL injury. He's starting things on the PUP list. It is Ceedee Lamb and tight ends and young guys. Like, that's about it.
Absolutely.
That's all we got there, especially with Amari Cooper gone as well. Should have mentioned that right up at the top, just came to my head. All of those targets, so many of those targets are going to go to Ceedee Lamb. This is an opportunity where you have a guy ascending to number 1, where he becomes the best option, that a lot of those targets and a lot of those looks are going to be allocated his way. He is going to get the lion's share of everything in that passing offense, I believe. So with how talented he is, the combination of his quarterback, the exodus of the other passing weapons, I think that it is a massive year for Ceedee Lamb. I think that he has a really good chance to be the wide receiver champion, especially if we get back to how much Dak Prescott was throwing the ball in the past. And a lot of that also has in line with Zeke's getting older. Zeke's getting less effective, right? So they're less inclined, for as much as Dallas is going to continue to have Zeke because they've just proven that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to back off on that a little bit. You got to get the ball in your best player's hands. Ceedee Lamb is absolutely one of them. And then the next pick, I'm going to pick Travis Kelce. I can do that, right? We're talking wide receiver champion, but we're also talking like...
Yeah, I didn't think of it, but yeah, you could do it.
Leading the league in receiving yards. I'm going to pick Travis Kelce because...
Okay.
One, a lot of people would argue he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end anyways. And two, look at the receivers that are currently on that roster, man. Travis Kelce has been unbelievably productive, and that's been with Tyreek Hill there.
So you're finally breaking up with Kyle Pitts?
What do you mean? What do you mean? You thought that I was going to take Kyle Pitts or what?
I mean, he was like your sworn hero on the draft a player from the last 3 drafts show he did.
Look, I mean... is my guy and everything,
yeah.
But who's the quarterback in Atlanta? Who's the quarterback in Kansas City? So,
you tell me.
Right. I'm not going to bet on
Jalen Ramsey once said.
All to quote
I love that quote. So you tell me.
No, I'm going with Travis Kelce. You've seen the production that he's had even when Tyreek Hill is there. They've got Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster, and they hope they're getting a lot out of Sky Moore as well. But none of those 4 guys are as accomplished and have the chemistry that Travis Kelce does with Patrick Mahomes. I think, and shoot, I really do hope that I'm wrong here, but I wonder if the drop-off for Kelce as he continues to age is going to get steeper and sharper just because he is getting into his mid-30s. But this next year here, I think he has a chance to have the most targets, the most catches, the most receiving yards that he has yet in his career simply because of what Kansas City's offensive identity looks like right now and the lack of familiarity, the lack of confidence that Mahomes might have in the rest of the group where he can think, I can always go Kelce's way. So for my 4th pick here, I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I think he, among the tight ends, I know Mark Andrews is involved, George Kittle's involved, Kyle Pitts would be involved, but among the tight ends, he would be my pick this year to lead that group in receiving yards. And I think that he does have a shot at leading the league in receiving yards as well.
I like it. At 31 years old, he had over 1,400 yards. So this is a dude that it can happen, and I think he's aged like wine. He might be like the sneakiest almost 33 in the NFL, and I don't really think it matters. I think he's going to be fine. I think he's somebody that's going to play at a top 5 tight end level for the next couple of years. I don't see that drop off with him, and maybe some of that is because of his relationship with Mahomes and the chemistry they have, but I also think he's a guy that will be motivated to always be at his absolute best because that team will always be in a championship window with Patrick Mahomes under center. And I think that matters. So outside the box pick that I wasn't expecting, but I really, really like. Really like that one. Yeah, well done. The wide receiver champion show getting its first tight end here. All right.
I might have to change the title now. Now I might just have to call it like receiver NFL.
Receiving champion?
Receiving champion, yeah.
It's tricky. All right, so
we'll have to talk with the producers about that.
There's a lot to unpack with the guys left on the board that are at the top that are probably spinning through a lot of people's heads. It could be that they are in a room that's too good. There's other guys that get targets. It could be that they play for a team that it's not that the quarterback's bad, it's that you just don't necessarily have the faith in the quarterback. I think my next pick will come off as outside the box. I am going to go with Michael Pittman. And, I mean, let's be real. This dude had a really good 2021 season at age 24 where he had almost 1,100 yards playing with Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. And I am one of the firm believers that Matt Ryan has good football left in him.
Amen.
It sounds like things are going really well in Colts camp for Matt Ryan. It feels like they got, a pros pro in there, and he's playing like a pros pro. He's leading like a pros pro. He knows the offense. He picked up the offense really quickly. Shocking. It's Matt Ryan. There's not a lot here, Trevor. This is going to be a really well-balanced offense. When I say there's not a lot, in the way of Pittman's targets, it's a complement to the function of the Colts offense. The way they can run, the way they have more than just Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, the offensive line, 2 tight end sets. There's a lot of different things they could do that are going to win a lot of football games this year. But when you're looking at a receiver that is going to be highly productive in this offense, it's going to be Michael Pittman. And he's definitely a pick for me that, kind of like you at Ceedee Lamb, we've seen them have good seasons. We haven't seen them have monster years. We haven't seen them where somebody goes out the door and everybody's looking and going, oh, you're up. Like, you're up, you're the dude. So this is, as we do on this show a lot, as this is not mainly, but the primary focus of this show is the draft and player development in the NFL level from the college level. This is a breakout pick, and maybe one that some people weren't expecting to hear on today's show, but Michael Pittman should have a monster year with Matt Ryan.
He was in my top 10. I think.
You go.
I think he was in my top 10. He was either 10 or 11 for me, but he was right there. So I'm glad that one of us gave him some love on this show, putting him in the top 5. So good stuff.
I think that, once again, too, he could have been I'm picking back-to-back, so I could have picked him 5.
Sure. Right.
In this exercise, it ultimately doesn't matter as I round out this draft. Man, the next one is really, really tough, but it's really, really tough.
There's a lot to go with.
There's a lot.
I have a guess at who you're going to pick. I'm not going to say it, though.
You're not going to say it.
Oh, you're going that off the wall?
No. I wanted to know if you were going to try to guess it.
No. I can't because it would be a really good pick. And if you didn't think of it and you were like, oh, shoot, you just thought of it.
I'll just do it. I'll just do it then. Whatever. There's one thing I have to check before I make this pick, which is
all right.
insane that we're here, but I'm torn between 2 players.
I'll give you time by telling everybody that what we're going to do is, after we're done with our 5, we're actually going to pick one rookie. I can't remember if we said this at the top, but the way that we're going to do it is we'll have 3 points for if one of our players becomes the wide receiver champion, we get 3 points. For however many players that we have in our top 5 also finish in the top 5 of receiving yards, we get 1 point. And then we're also going to, for fun, draft one rookie. And if they lead the league as a rookie, then we also get another point. It's not just whose rookie did better than the other. They got to lead the league. We got to call our shot here to get that extra point. So that's kind of how we're grading this, and we're going to keep score of this. So was that enough time to get your?
Thank you. Yeah, more than enough, actually.
Okay, great.
So I'm taking Deebo Samuel.
All right, that was my guess.
Yeah,
that was my guess.
But it wasn't easy. There are a lot of guys that I was torn between, but I'm going with Deebo because.
What'd you look up?
I looked up other players.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with Deebo because I know Deebo's a damn good wide receiver, and all of the wide back stuff got in the way of how good of a wide receiver he is, because we're talking about a player that in 2020 he didn't play a lot, but 2019 he had 800 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And 2021, with all of the wide back stuff, he still exploded for over 1,400 yards and on 121 targets, which in the grand scheme is not a lot.
Totally forgot that he had over 1,400 receiving yards before this. Well, not before this exercise. I had looked it up before, but you put it perfectly. There are so many people who talk about Deebo as a gadget player. You forget that this dude almost had 1,500 receiving yards. Like, he's just a damn good wide receiver, even without the other added stuff.
So the carries really started to become consistent in week 9. And weeks 1 to 7, I mean, he was basically averaging at least around 100 yards a week. Sure, there was a couple like 93, 52, but 189, 156, 100, 171, like mammoth weeks as a wide receiver. Then when they started giving him 5 to 8 touches a game from the backfield, they did eat into his targets as a wide receiver that limited his wide receiver numbers for the most part. So I know the new contract extension has built-in incentives if he is used as a ball carrier and the production based on that. I do think that'll still be a part of the 49ers offense, but I think that Deebo will be maximized more as a wide receiver this year, and he is such a talented player. I know as we record this show in August, we are right in the thick of Brandon Ayuk Summer of Hype round 2, and I really bought into that last year, and I'm not saying I'm not buying into it this year. the summer of hype for all these guys gets crazy, and Deebo's the dude. Like, yeah, they got Kittle, yeah, they got Ayuk, who's having another good camp, but Deebo, when the pads come on, the lights come on, and it's regular season game time, Deebo's going to be that dude, and I think he'll be a little bit of a safety valve to create yards after the catch in this offense for Trey Lance. So Deebo will be a screen machine, and we know what he could do with the ball in his hand, so the yardage is going to be there again for him. He had to be in one of these drafts. It would have been a sin if he wasn't.
Right. No, he was. I would have picked Deebo, I think, as my 5th guy if you would have left him on the board. For my last pick here at number 5, I'm torn between 2 players, and I can debate them out loud instead of in my head.
Can I guess them?
Yeah. Guess them.
Tyreek Hill?
No.
Whoa. Okay.
Tyreek is not. Look, I am not sipping the Tyreek Hill. Tua is as good as Patrick Mahomes Kool-Aid. I'm just not. And with him being in the same offense as Cedric Wilson and Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki, I think that Tyreek Hill is going to play well. But do I think that Tua has it in him to have all of those guys get targets and allow Tyreek Hill to hit the 1,400 to 1,500 yard mark? No, I don't. I'm not picking Tyreek Hill. No, I never was.
Okay. Well, like Jeff Ulbrich said, Coke is good, but Coke with a little something in it is much better. So moving on. No Tyreek Hill. You're not sipping the Coke with a little something in it on Tua right now. Then I'll let you take the floor because I don't want to keep playing the guessing game of being wrong, and wrong.
Okay. One of them is Courtland Sutton.
That, swear, is who I have open. I'm not going to pull it all the way up to the camera. He is my Pro Football Reference tab right now.
Okay. All right. So, look, so we weren't far off on this one. He was in the conversation for you as well. Courtland Sutton has had a 1,000, I believe 1,100 yard season that he had in 2019. 2020, he gets hurt. And then this past year, obviously Denver's quarterback situation was kind of all over the place. And he was getting back from, he was getting back from injury as well. You look at Russell Wilson being in that offense now. Russell Wilson has made stars and 1,000-yard receivers out of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Not to say those guys are scrubs without Russell Wilson, but you know what I'm saying. A great quarterback getting in concert with a great wide receiver. There's yards there. And I think the most that they had as a duo was when DK had 1,300 yards. But, man, I just really feel like a 1,400-yard season could be in the cards for Sutton. Maybe it could be more than that. Maybe it could be special. But the other guy that I'm thinking about is Michael Thomas, a guy who has won this award before, albeit 3 years ago. His numbers with Drew Brees were insane. In fantasy football, it was the easiest choice of all time. This guy was getting anywhere from 150 to 200 targets a year. You could guarantee pencil him in for 1,300 to 1,600 yards, depending on what the year was going to bring. But he gets hurt last year, does not play really at all. He's coming back from the injury, but I read over the last couple of days that he's started to participate in 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 drills with the Saints. They are very happy with where he is health-wise. He also seems to be in a good place when it comes to the relationship with the team because there was some back and forth. Okay, like, does he even want to be in New Orleans? He seems to be happy, or at least happier than what he was last year. It feels like he's going to be able to start the season week 1. And if that's the case, he's the unquestioned number 1 wide receiver on this team. They have Chris Olave. They've got some other offensive weapons. Alvin Kamara takes a lot of targets too, but it's still going to be, I think, the Michael Thomas show, especially with the coaching staff being relatively the same. They also have Jameis Winston as their quarterback. And I don't know exactly what version of Jameis we're going to get this upcoming year, but Jameis Winston likes to throw the football. That is always going to be his thing. And Michael Thomas, I think, is going to be his wide receiver 1 in that regard. Those are the 2 wide receivers that I'm debating between.
Are you stuck? Or you have one, give conviction on one.
I'm going to pick Sutton. I'm going to pick Courtland Sutton here.
It's his time.
Just because there is more uncertainty of what Jameis is going to be, what that offense is going to be, what Michael Thomas might be right out of the gate. Is he that same kind of force feed, target hog receiver? Are they going to have him play things that are a little bit different? Maybe half the year is spent figuring out where they can use Michael Thomas best. And that doesn't spell out a wide receiver champion kind of a year. So I think that Russell Wilson, I think that Courtland Sutton, they're going to really hit the ground running. This Denver Broncos offense is going to be really potent. And I'm going to go Courtland Sutton here as my 5th pick.
let's ride, brother. You gotta love
Let's
that
ride,
pick.
baby.
So good. I love that it's really gained steam. I see everybody doing it. Man, I like. So Sutton, your Sutton pick was like my Pittman pick in a sense too, where it's like, man, I think this is going to be the year. The situation, having a real life quarterback walk into that room, it's like, oh, this is what this guy can do when the ball is coming his way on time, accurately. You're going to see the best version of players. So, all right, I will read my top 5. You will read your top 5, and then we each get to pick a rookie.
Yep.
And following the snake order, you get to pick the rookie first.
Damn right I do.
Just finish the draft. Yeah, I'm a nice co-host. All right, number 1 for me was Justin Jefferson. Number 2 was Jamar Chase. Number 3 was Stefon Diggs. Number 4 was Michael Pittman Jr. Number 5, Deebo Samuel.
My top 5, I got Cooper Kupp, Davante Adams, Ceedee Lamb, Travis Kelce, and Courtland Sutton. Some guys that we left on the board. A.J. Brown. Nobody picked A.J. Brown. Didn't pick Mark Andrews if we were going along the tight end train, who Mark Andrews could have been a fantastic pick as well. Terry McLaurin, that was another one that I thought of. I think that Terry obviously is one of the best wide receivers there, but
no comment. Love Scary Terry.
Moving to like Mike Evans is on there, but there's so many options in the Bucs offense. I think that Mike Evans is going to have another 1,000-yard season, but
they don't need him to have 1,600 yards.
It's just I just don't think it's going to happen. Same thing in Carolina. Like DJ Moore is in Carolina, and I like DJ Moore, but I don't think DJ Moore is going to threaten 1,500 yards. So that's kind of where I was with a handful of those next tier wide receivers that I might have thought about. So
I know who you're taking here. Which is funny because it goes against your previous rant.
Sure it does. Yeah. Yeah, you're damn right it does.
Yeah, you're taking Chris Olave. Of course you are.
No, I'm not picking Chris Olave.
You're not taking Olave.
No.
All right. No. All right. Well, then your other pick makes sense. Take the floor.
Drake London, baby.
Yeah.
Drake London.
I mean, you want to talk about someone that should be a target monster.
I thought you were about to bring up the fact that I poo-pooed a Kyle Pitts pick because of their quarterback situation. I thought that's what you were.
So I was right.
You were right. I thought that's where you were going with it. But here I am picking Drake London. I've seen exactly 2 training camp highlight clips of Drake London, and I am prepared.
Are the Falcons having camp? That's the only thing I've seen.
To stitch the gold jacket right now, okay? Like wide receiver 1, unmatched. We are counting that as a scouting dub already. Doesn't even need to play a game.
Yeah, it's a hit.
He's just going to get so many targets. Him and Pitts are going to be that entire passing offense. And I just think volume alone is why I've got to pick him here. If he's fully healthy, I do. I think that he's the dude. And the thing that gives me faith about him succeeding with maybe not the best quarterback is whether it's Desmond Ridder, whether it's Marcus Mariota, even if these guys aren't pinpoint deadly accurate exactly where they need to go with the ball, just throw it up to Drake London, man. I mean, he led college football in contested catches last year, and he only played 8 games. He led the country. That's his entire bread and butter. So even if you have a quarterback that isn't just a complete assassin back there, if you get it within his catch radius, he's unbelievable at it. So I think that's going for him too. So I'll go with Drake London as my rookie wide receiver pick here.
And if you were a defensive coordinator, you're theoretically, or at least early in the year, shading all your help to Kyle Pitts for a lot of reasons. Like slot defenders, number 1, are going to have a hard enough time with Pitts, so you're going to have to shade help to them pretty much anyway. But the type of talent he's proven to be in that offense, where it could, I don't want to say open things up for Drake London because they have their holes in other positions, but you're right. There's no reason why he's not the wide receiver on that team that is out targeting everybody by what, like 50%?
Yeah.
60%? Like it should be kind of insane. So obviously, it's pretty clear who I'm taking. I am taking Chris Olave, and I think that, you brought up the fact of Michael Thomas's pending return could be a big factor here, but that number 2 wide receiver door has been wide open for the Saints. For a player like Olave to step in, get open, get targets, catch the ball down the field, catch the ball in the intermediate. Like you said, Jameis is going to throw the you-know-what out of the football. And Olave looks like he's had a good camp. It kind of goes back to your Drake London thing. I've seen some camp highlights of him against Paulson Adebo, who is a member of my most recent mock draft team, just getting torched by Chris Olave. Shout out to my Hall of Fame secondary.
Hey, Paulson Adebo could be a good player. I don't know if he is right now. I don't know if he is right
one-on-ones for any corner
It's death.
is
Right. It's a death wish.
is like viral, like cocaine.
Also, while we're here, can we talk about the Trevon Diggs clip?
Oh, yes.
With
sure.
him getting cooked by Sonny Fehoko?
I have a problem with a lot of the narrative around Trevon Diggs right now.
Okay, all right, let's hear it.
And why do we treat everybody's favorite thing? And I get it. They're like, he's so overrated because he has 8 interceptions or whatever it is. And I'm like, I get that, but I also think it's really unfair how we treat him as a 23-year-old corner. We treat him like a 28-year-old corner that's been in the league for 6 years, and everyone's like, this guy's really not that good. He just gets a lot of interceptions, when it's like, he's 23 years old. In his second year, he had 11 picks. And yeah, he has his warts. Like, he's not perfect in coverage. He's not the stickiest player in coverage. But it's one of those things where we go so full circle on actually, this guy's not as good as you think, that we've gone all the way lapped around where it's like, no, put into context how young he is and that he could still be an ascending player.
I'm with you. I think the Trevon Diggs hate has gone like way too far.
It's gone too far. The context, and a lot of it was PFF data, which I agree. Like, the context was good. Like, hey, this guy's not a shutdown corner yet, but he's a playmaking corner.
Right.
That's good analysis.
Right.
He stinks is BS. Like, it's BS.
It is funny because a lot of people will counter what you just said by saying like, well, yeah, but like so many people think he's like the best corner in the game. Who thinks he's the best corner
with the brain thinks that?
Like who is saying this? I think that everybody who would be praising Trevon Diggs would say like, yeah, he's this kind of like off coverage corner who does really great at reading quarterbacks, jumping routes, going to get interceptions, which are a big part of the game. Yeah, if you're going to ask him to sit there and stick in man coverage and not get burned, he's probably going to get burned by a lot of people. But some people will counter that and be like, well, some people are saying like he's the best corner in the game. Who's saying that? It's like it's the old Twitter thing where
the Steph Curry.
The Steph Curry. Yeah. They said that Steph wasn't a good shooter, and it's like
they told me Steph Curry couldn't shoot threes.
Who said this? Now
there's just always someone yelling into the void.
Granted, in like September and October last year, when Stefon Diggs had like 6-7 interceptions, like one every single game, yeah, he was getting Defensive Player of the Year hype because the statistics were insane. But then, of course, you let the entire year play out. You go, okay, he's giving up a lot of yards. He seems to be really overly aggressive. Like, yes, he's getting the turnovers, but it's within context. That does not make him the best corner in the NFL or the worst corner in the NFL. It makes him a stylistic corner who is young and still hopefully getting a lot better, kind of as you said. But I didn't mean to totally go on to Trevon Diggs. Also,
I'm glad we did.
That training camp clip, people are just frying him for it. And it was not great coverage. It was not a good way to play man coverage in that situation. But it's a one-on-one training camp drill with no help anywhere. And people don't realize they're like, oh, what wide receiver even is that? Sammy Fehoko is a 6'5" wide receiver who runs like a 4.35. Like that exact rep that you saw in that clip is why he is on the team. He is a big speed vertical wide receiver. That drill is built for him to win. Totally built for him to win, not only in the structure of the drill, but also like who he is as a player. So I just had to get that off my chest. I thought I was watching people destroy the crap out of him, and it was a bad rep. It was.
In the spirit of leaders, this being the wide receiver champion show, Diggs had 11 picks last year, and sure, there's interception luck involved in every leader.
Of course.
Trevor, the last interception leader in the NFL to have that number, 11, was in 1981, Everson Walls. So, like, I know there's luck involved.
Big ups, Everson.
Shout out to Everson. This was like a special year from ball skills perspective, even if there is luck. That was a big number. It was a big number. So I just don't, the whole Trevon Diggs stinks thing is just worn out.
He's not the best corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's also not the worst.
Would a lot of DCs say, sign me up? I'll take the feast or famine ability?
No, I think they would. I think they would.
All right, back to God, we got far off.
Back to wrapping up the podcast.
I don't even know where we are. I think we're done.
You picked Chris Olave, right?
Okay.
That was your rookie.
Yes, I did. I did. Oh, I did want to say, like, because you took Drake London, who Great pick. That would have been my number one as well. Why I didn't take Garrett Wilson, who could be in this conversation? I think there's just the ball's going around in the Jets offense. We need to see it from Zach Wilson, of course. I do think he's going to be much better, but they got multiple tight ends they're going to throw to. They got Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, 2 running backs, and Michael Carter and Breece Hall that they're going to throw to. Braxton Berrios is going to get slot targets. I just think Garrett Wilson is not going into a situation like Drake London and Chris Olave where there's this defined target role for him. It's going to evolve throughout the season. So that I wanted to avoid. I wasn't going to take him.
I thought about Jahan Dotson too, who I think is going to have a major role in that Washington offense. It's just,
yeah.
The same silence that we had when we brought up Terry McLaurin, and you were like, "Well, and I was like, "Yeah, I mean, we know."
Did you see the tweet? I think it was about Montez Sweat chasing Carson Wentz and screaming at him to get rid of the ball.
No.
That was my favorite camp tweet.
What?
Of the
He's telling him to throw it away?
Yeah, I've seen it from a couple variations. And here's one from Zach Selby, who's the staff writer for the team, for the Commanders. Wentz scrambled to his right before running out of bounds, with Montez Sweat chasing him, screaming at Wentz, "Get rid of it, get rid of it." That visual is just unbelievable.
First of all, if I'm scrambling to my right, Montez Sweat is behind me yelling, "Get rid of it," that ball is going to hit the floor so quick. I'm firing that bad boy into the 90th row. I don't have that kind of arm strength, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm either absolutely pegging the first person I see on the sidelines. That ball is getting out of my hand like I just took it out of the oven without a mitt.
Dude, just an unbelievable scene. Fun show.
Great show. Good show. If we do say so ourselves, great show.
I mean, pat ourselves in the back. One of the best pods to ever be recorded. I think so.
On Thursday, we're getting back to summer scouting. We're getting close, guys.
We're almost done.
2 positions
Speaking
left.
of corners.
Yeah, there it is. Speaking of corners. It was a good
transition.
Segue. It was a little tough because we kind of gotten off corners, but now, you're getting back on. So we're doing cornerbacks on Thursday. We're giving you our top 5 cornerbacks heading into the 2022 college football season. Obviously top 5. We're talking about not NFL, but for the NFL draft, guys that we're going to be watching in the college football season. And then we got safeties the week after that. Some exciting stuff that's happening beyond that. Once we wrap it up, we'll give you our top 50 prospects at the end of the summer. We'll also get into our very first 2023 mock draft with a lot of time, a lot of notes, a lot of everything kind of taken into the equation. We'll come up with a draft order. We'll see what the draft order is. We'll use our friends over at Vegas to see what they think about how teams are going to finish, and we'll come up with the order then. And then we'll give you guys your first mock draft before the first NFL season gets underway, because we love you. Because it's just kind of
and then the pod's over. It's done.
Yeah, and then no more pod. Yeah,
and then that was it. We just wanted to prepare everyone for last year's draft, and we'll do a sneak preview next year's.
Can you imagine if we took the season off? If we were just like, all right, guys, we'll see you after the season, and it was just
we'll get ready for the draft again. We actually should be really careful, you and I specifically, about making jokes like that, considering how our last podcast both actually did come to an end, So maybe that wasn't the most tasteful joke for the listeners that are like, do not take away another podcast.
Sorry, yeah, we didn't mean that. We're not only not going away, but we're going back to 3 shows a week.
Yeah,
I believe is the plan right now for us. So
yes, that is absolutely correct. So there will be more of us again.
Yeah, you guys are getting rid of us during the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to cover this league in a lot of fun ways, and we love to hear from you guys too. I know we always say this, but if you hear of cool ideas or cool things that you would love to hear, this podcast is, I'm just letting you guys know, pretty damn open. I mean, we have a schedule that we're going to go with. We're going to have reoccurring segments that we do throughout the season once we get into the swing of things, but we are always open to hearing from you guys and saying like, hey, I'd love to hear, you guys talk about this angle of how to evaluate teams or evaluate where teams are in the draft order, all that kinds of stuff. If you want more updates like that, always please let us know. Tampa Bay Trey, Connor J. Rogers on Twitter, also on Instagram. You guys can hit us up there for all of your ideas. Anyways, we will see you guys on Thursday. Let us know who you think had the better list, or whose list most likely has the chance to be the receiver champion in 2022. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers. Thanks for listening to the NFL Stock Exchange.